guys, so today I have a super fun topic to talk about. So ever since we started doing our podcast and putting ourselves out there on Book Talk, I have gotten so many questions about, I'm a new fantasy reader, where do I start? So today I'm going to give you book recommendations based on the difficulty level of certain fantasy books that I would recommend. I'm going to give you some easy ones that would be like not much world building, pretty easy to understand. Medium, which is a little higher paced, but not difficult. You don't really have to think still. And then some difficult ones that's going to take a little bit more thinking and world building and plot. So let's get into it. So I'm going to start with easy. So these would be books that I feel like you can be a beginner fantasy reader. You could have been loving fantasy forever and still really like these books, but they don't have a lot of world building. They are simple writing. They're very easy to understand. Some of them are YA, which also is why they are a little bit easier to understand, but I still love them. The first, Trial of the Sun Queen. This is not YA. However, the writing style in this book is quite simple. It is very easy to fly through this book really quickly. There's not a lot of difficult world building, and I think that this is a fun book. There is the fantasy element with a little bit of fae, but you don't even get into that until the very end. And so if you really want to start with a book that feels a little more realistic than some of the other fantasy books out there and is super easy to read, Trial of the Sun Queen is a great one to start with. It is a 4-book series. First book is very simple, and it's simple enough that even as you're trying to figure out the world, it's not very difficult, and it will help you figure out the rest of the series as you progress through the books. Overall, very simple, very easy to read, very easy to comprehend, and it's just a fun time. So this is not the normal cover. This is actually Light Lark by Alex Astor. This is YA. This is Games and Trials. Every 100 years, the centennial happens, and each land sends someone from their kingdom to essentially fight in these centennial battles to see which kingdom is the best, essentially. So that's pretty much the gist. It's very simple, not a lot of world building. And if you have read something like The Hunger Games before, which most people have, very simple. She has 3 official books out as of now, with 2 others on the horizon that are supposed to be coming out around the same time. That's a little unclear, but this is a love triangle with Games and Trials and very simple Hunger Games type world building, but fantasy-esque. Light Lark. And last for my easy category would be Powerless. This is a very popular one for good reason. It is YA. It is simple. It is another Hunger Games type fantasy book with Games and Trials. These Games and Trials are so good, so exciting, and the FMC and MMC are amazing. Fantastic. Paid in, and I won't say the MMC because it could give away later on. But if you have not read Powerless because you haven't stepped into fantasy, this is one of the best ones to go into first because it's very simple, very easy to understand, and it is easy to just eat up. There are 3 books and a novella with a second novella coming out soon. The last book just came out in April. The new novella should be coming out soon. Great one to start with. We have some opinions on the very last book. Not that it was bad, just some not great opinions about just how the story ended that we didn't love, but the story itself is so fun. Very exciting, and I think you'd like it. All right, so moving on to medium books would be books that are like a little bit of world building, but they kind of world build as the book progresses as opposed to just throwing you into the world. Books that if you want a little more fantasy, not so much surface level, these would be great ones to pick up. The first one, my all-time favorite book, Fourth Wing and the whole Empyrean series. There are 3 books right now out of 5. She will be writing 5 of them. Or it's slated for 5. Could there be more in the future? I don't know. Supposedly 5 books. Fourth Wing is essentially Divergent with dragons is the best way for me to describe it. maybe like Harry Potter as well, because it's an academy setting, so it's dark academia. It has dragons. It is about a girl, Violet Sorrengail, who is trying to find her way in the writer's side, or the writer's quadrant of this military academy. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Go check out our page for a lot of content on this book, because this series is the literal reason we started our podcast. There is world building, but it is not super intense. It's just more so than the previous 3 books. This would be my go-to, but if you want something a little more simple, go to the other 3 books first. Metal Slinger is another one that I would say is medium because of the world building. There's not a ton of it, so it's not horrible. It's not super intense. However, it's just unique. It is a very unique setting. It's a very unique plot, and there's a huge plot twist at the very end that even seasoned fantasy readers have not figured out. So this is one that if you want something that is going to put you at the edge of your seat, especially at the end, it's fantastic. If you want something that is a unique setting that you haven't seen before, also fantastic. We actually just interviewed Rachel Schneider, who's the author, this week. So if you have read Metal Slinger, go check that out. If you're interested in reading Metal Slinger, this is the new cover. It's getting re-released now that she's not an indie author anymore. And it's fantastic, and you need to go check it out because it's so good. Another medium book would be Shield of Sparrows, which I kind of say is similar to Metal Slinger because it's a very unique setting, and I loved the setting in this book. It made the entire book. It's also got a lot of monsters, which kind of sounds crazy, but the best part of the book outside of the setting. The setting and the monsters were the coolest part. It was so unique, such a different vibe than most fantasy books. And there is a plot twist that's literally the last 2 sentences of the book that I never, ever, ever expected. And I don't know where she's going to go from here. I would say this is a medium book because there is world building. It is a random new setting that you have never probably seen before. And there's a magic system that is a little more challenging to pick up and figure out until you really progress through the book. But it is so good. She has multiple plot twists throughout, and then she has that last plot twist that insane. Like, I literally texted Kaylee and was like, did I read that correctly? What just happened? Because it just ends after just having this major plot twist. So Shield of Sparrows, it is a highly recommended book by a lot of people. So if you are a seasoned fantasy reader and you need something that is a little deeper with the world building and the magic system and just something more than your typical easy or less world building type books, the first one you need to check out is Blood Over Brighthaven. This book I read like 6 months ago and it still sticks with me. This book is technically high academia, dark academia, but it's in a political setting. There were a couple slow parts throughout the book. However, it all comes together and the ending is a literal masterpiece. A masterpiece. I mean, I cannot stop thinking about this book, and it's been months since I read it. The magic system is beyond unique. The political system is intricate. The world building is intricate. And the twist at the end is wild. Absolutely wild. It is a standalone. So if you want a one book where you just figure everything out and it's done, this is your book. It is so good. I will never stop raving about this book because I can't get it out of my head. So if you want something that is a lot deeper, that will leave you thinking, Blood Over Brighthaven. Another more difficult book would be From Blood and Ash. And the reason I say this is a very highly beloved series, and it is very good. I have read the first book. I have not finished the series because it is so heavy. The reason I would say it's more difficult is because the first 75% is world building. The last 25% was mind-blowing. So if you can get through the first 75%, the last 25% will knock your socks off if you're willing to get that far. It is more challenging to figure out. This book is about vampire system. I can't give too much away without giving away the plot twist, but there's a hierarchy with the people in this book that is very confusing at first, but once you piece it together, it is like, whoa, okay, I see where this is going. And then she's got like so many books after that play off what happens in the first book. And so it is more challenging because it is so in depth, but if you can make it through the first book, it is so worth it, because that ending, the last like 200, 150 pages is insane. Go read it. The last book I'm going to talk about today in our difficult category is Anathema. This book, is deep. I took a while to read it, a while being like a week, but because there's so much world building. This takes place in a very gothic, spooky, creepy setting, and it follows this girl who is basically, her destiny is to stop the curse that is happening on their kingdom. And oh my gosh, it is another beautiful story. It is deep. I had to think while I was reading it. This is not a book to go into if you've never read fantasy before, and if you've not ever read a lot of fantasy before. But if you have read a lot of fantasy and you need something that's just gonna really get you and be something that you need to think through, go read Anathema. The second book comes out really soon, so it'd be a really great time to read it. It is just a duology, so once you get past the second book that's coming out, it's done. Lots of world building though in the first book, and a lot of different magic. The MMC is very different. Just a very unique read and not something I'd ever read before. So go check that one out as well. If you liked this video, I had a lot of books I could have put in this video. I will make a part 2 if you guys liked this. If you did, comment below. Let us know which of these books you've read and liked, and let me know some other recs that you would put in this category. And I will do a part 2 if you guys like this. Bye, guys.